Again, Dr. AnnetteTeijeiro joining us. She is a candidate for Congress in Congressional District 3. She is with us in studio. I want to ask you about taxation. Everybody always talks to me about taxation. And here in the state, we just went through the largest tax increase in the history of our state, sponsored by Michael Roberson, one of your opponents.
That's right.
Who apparently is for higher taxes, not lower taxes. And I guess my question is, where do you come down from a tax perspective? We just had Andy Matthews in the other day with a new tax proposal. Two different rates, one at 15%, the other at 25%, and a 15% corporate rate. I want to ask you where you are. I mean, we've got fair taxes, we got flat taxes, we got a reduction in the amount of regulations. Where are you on taxation, and where should our nation be?
Well, ideally, we can't just talk about taxation, Kevin, because we don't have a taxation problem as much as we have a spending problem in Congress. So for me, it would be looking for that waste, fraud, and abuse that is out there rampant throughout the federal government, because all they do is just ratchet up the tax rate to pay for all these wonderful little pet projects they want to do. So I don't want to just box in. The solution is not just lowering the taxes. And that's one of the things that I can contrast myself with Andy. If he's going to talk about just lowering taxes and not talk about the waste, fraud, and abuse, then it's a losing battle, because then everything that happens is all of that wonderful debt just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing. So we have to stop spending on wasteful stuff. I hope that answers that question. There's more, but go ahead.
No, but I do want to get back to the issue of taxation. Are you satisfied with the system of taxation where two people living in the same neighborhood, identical housing, the same amount of kids, the wife and two kids, and one pays a higher rate of taxes, the other has a great attorney and pays a lower amount of taxes?
No, of course I'm not. I'm not in favor of that at all. If you look, if everything was ideal and we could set a reset button, the fair tax is probably the closest to what I would think is best. But we can't. So we have to be able to first curtail the expenses and then look at, okay, how are we going to cut this so that people are paying their fair share? And I don't mean that the way that the Democrats say, because the Democrats say that and then they turn around and demonize all of the people up on top, which actually, if you take all the money from the people that are the high earners, then they're not going to hire, they're not going to wash their cars, they're not going to do all these things that give other people jobs. They're not going to spend their money. So, you can't just, I don't like that progressive kind of tax where people pay more money. I think a much more fair tax would be better. But like I said, this all doesn't happen in a vacuum. You have to cut the spending.
Let me just ask you, because you said, well, there's the fair tax, and I really like the fair tax, but, well, we obviously can't do that. Why can't we do that?
Because not enough people understand the fair tax right away, and there are parts of the fair tax that don't address things like, for instance, we're not really sure how that's going to affect the real estate investment market. So there has to be a caveat of transition. But you can't have transition until you stop the waste, because all that's going to happen is, let's say that we did reset the button to the fair tax, but we didn't change our wasteful ways. What would happen is then the tax percentage would just keep ratcheting up, and we'd never solve the problems that we have at the federal level.